We're seeing some insanely huge shifts in all aspects of the tech industry. And on the creative side of things, we're seeing it even more so with different tools available to you. You're looking at a change in how art is perceived and how writing is perceived. And a lot of that is due to AI and automation. When we're looking at the future of tech, obviously we're taking that into consideration. But where are we now in that space when it comes to automation, and where do you think that we're going?
Yeah, what a great question at a time like this, Sage, where there's so much disruption going on with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was probably slightly late to the game with like Chat GPT, for instance.
It's terrifying.
But I tell you, I've been about the last couple of weeks, I've been really deep, working with it. In fact, my presentations and many of the things I'm sharing with you come from a dialogue I'm having with Chat GPT. It's like unbelievable. Right.
Wow.
The way I can train it, the way, I have 3 active sessions going on with it, 3 personas where I've had different conversations. And if I ask the same question to the 3 personas, I'll get 3 different answers because they're derived based on the previous context that we've had in the previous conversation. So I've had a context like this whole auto thing, right? A lot of the insights I've shared are because of chats I've had with this AI engine in the back end, right? I think it was one of my technology friends that was answering these questions. Like, it feels to me like it's some human who knows me, who's literally responding to these things.
Good old Chad.
It's just a great example of how AI and automation can change everything we do. Right? Think about the papers college kids are going to write going forward, and the way that people write code. I know one of my developers says he does code reviews. He sends the code in and sends it to ChatGPT, and it does code analysis, right? Or you just tell it the problem you want to solve, and it'll give you the code. It's just unbelievable. And automation and AI kind of go together, right? What drives good automation is good intelligence that can make informed decisions about things, right? So these two things are just connected at the hip. And the more we get this high-powered AI that can help drive this great decision process, the more we can use automation, and more it frees us up to do other things, right? And just to be more, like you guys give the power back to application managers, right? That they, instead of them going and doing all the packaging and evaluating where they run, they can do more progressive things and looking at the next wave of innovation they want to do within an organization. Let those things you said where you throw human horsepower at it, let these intelligent engines now do that in your behalf. And it's going to play out in every part of our industry. In fact, I asked my team the question, like, what thing in our AVD and Windows 365 world shouldn't be powered by AI? Ask that question, not what shouldn't. Give me an example of something that doesn't benefit from AI. And that's the starting point. In fact, in our spec templates and everything, it's like, we'll have an AI entry. What's the AI around this feature? And if you can't think of one, you probably need to go back and think a little longer, because there's got to be some amount of intelligence that can apply to make everything we do better. You think about in the space we're running in the cloud, how powerful AI can be to determine the patterns of when I use my resources in the cloud. We've talked about this sleeping and waking of machines, for instance, right? So we ran a little, we built this little AI model. So we took some ML and been tracking the usage patterns of our team and how they use their virtualization. I can predict with 95% accuracy when exactly you're going to log in on a given day and when you're going to be done on a given day, because those patterns are there. We may not see them with our human eye and we might detect them ourselves, but you play it out over enough time with enough individuals, these patterns start to show up. And these ML, you train all those patterns to these machine learning, and then you can create some very powerful AI that can do some amazing things.
We've started using, I'm not as clever as you, Scott, so I don't have 3 personas. I only have the one, but I do have an open dialogue going with Chat GPT, because you're 100% right. I mean, you said it pretty succinctly. Good automation is dependent on good AI, and those things go hand in hand, right? And for us, right, as we start seeing how people use applications, why not use AI to start determining how to best test those applications, how to best represent a user using that application to make the determination of whether or not it's acceptable performance or if it's an acceptable delivery format for that application. So, it's really interesting, Sage, because now you have access to AI that is for the masses, right? Prior to that, you needed to have a data scientist, you needed to have a potential quant, someone that understands how to interpret these patterns and start driving machine learning behavior with guardrails. They were the guardrail makers. And now you've got that available for free to the masses. So I honestly believe like, again, cloud PCs bringing VDI to the masses, or cloud VDI, like, you don't need the infrastructure, the capital expenditure. You don't need that background anymore to start leveraging AI. I think that you're going to start seeing the likes of ChatGPT and some of these other engines start actually driving decisions around where platforms and technologies are going to go, because the barrier to entry suddenly became from all the way up here down to here. Even I can do it, right? So like, you start thinking about, just how much more innovative the world is about to turn, especially in the tech sector over the next even 12 months. You're going to see, I think you're going to see with all of the different reductions in forces and, workforce changes that are happening, you're still going to see that level of innovation potentially continue to rise. If it's not going to go down, it might remain flat with less people in the workforce, but I think it's potentially going to continue to rise.
If we look at the advancement of that in the whole technology space, we always believe, creatives are safe. There's no way we can automate creativity. And you look at something, and you look at art, you look at the AR art generation, you look at ChatGPT and the impact that that's going to have on, like you said, homework. You're going to have to judge whether someone understands something much more on their problem-solving skills than what they can. Like, you can ask an AI to write 300 pages with sources on this thing. You can ask an AI to make code to solve this solution. Obviously, you're still going to have to to review that, but that gives you such a massive foundation there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You think back, we probably all around a similar era where, when calculators weren't allowed in class, right? Like in the early days, right? Oh, you're not proving that you understand it. If you can't multiply 13 times 26, then you don't understand math, right? And now, my kids had calculators in elementary school, where I didn't get access to them until college, right? Where we could use calculators, and probably before that was an abacus, and before that something else, right? And you think about now all these schools saying, we're not going to allow papers being written by ChatGPT, and they've got these algorithms they can try to detect if it's been written by some AI engine. And I think that'll change also, right?
Yeah.
If you know the right questions to ask, and the right information to feed the AI, then the output of it, whether you wrote them yourself or you helped use this tool to write them, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over time. But ultimately in the workplace, right, anytime you can use automation to help you be more productive, and frankly, work yourself out of the job you're doing today, not to work yourself out of your job per se, but what you're doing today to allow you to do things that are more productive, to give your time back to be more, step back and think about where you can have even more impact, and letting automation do some of the things that we do today and just keep moving the needle about how much you can spend on forward-looking things versus, these task-based things that can better suited with AI and ML type models.
And that's exactly it, right? I mean, if you think about from an educational perspective, there'll be a slightly different evolution. I saw a report where professors from Northern Iowa University in Northern Iowa came to the conclusion that we can't fight this, right? There's no reason. We have to change the assignments. It's not about writing an essay anymore. It's about leveraging critical thinking to solve a slightly different problem or to articulate, so, and that's great, because what that
like
does,
the best response I've seen to this problem. I think you're exactly right.
It's amazing, because it's a small university, and they've just created kind of a consortium to say, we've been, just because, the historical inertia, bringing it back to that, just because we've always written papers and essays and communicated this way doesn't mean that that's the way that we have to keep doing it. So the fact is, there will always be the people that are resistant to innovation because they fear it, and they fear that it's going to replace them. But, embracing it, and through education and through a variety of different ways of implementing it, is really kind of the only way that you can move forward, because otherwise you will be irrelevant as we move forward, right? It's that growth mindset.
Rimo3 fully automates pre-production compatibility testing, package modernization, and migration of your Windows application estate. From migration to maintenance, Rimo3's intelligent unattended automation eliminates the need for scripting, specific expertise, or complex configuration. Your apps, your workspace, our priority.